Most people think staying rich is easier than getting rich. They think once you reach the top, you stay there forever. But what if I told you there is a silent code that destroys 90% of the world's wealthiest families? It's not market crashes, it's not wars. It's something far more terrifying, happening inside the palace walls. It's called the inherited curse, where empires begin to vanish without anyone noticing, until the last heir wakes up with nothing. This is Alex. If you saw him today, you'd think he was just an average guy, working a modest job. But Alex wasn't average. Alex was the third-generation grandson of the wealthiest man in his city. He was supposed to live like a king, but Alex was living an illusion, one he didn't realize until it was too late. He didn't know. He was following the third-generation rule to the letter. It didn't start with losing millions. It started with entitlement. Alex was born with gold in his hands. He never saw the first generation building the company from scratch in a small garage. He never felt the sweat of his father trying to protect the legacy. To Alex, money wasn't a result of work. It was just the background of his normal life, like oxygen, always there. So he never thought about how it was produced. Days passed, then years. Alex was spending without ever learning how to manage. He wasn't reckless at first, just a little here and there. A newer car, a more expensive trip, a more luxurious apartment. He felt no danger, because the vault was still full. But what Alex didn't notice was that his skills were shrinking while his lifestyle was growing. He was sinking in quicksand, too slowly to feel the movement. Alex had a problem. He was comparing himself to the image of the first generation. He thought as long as he had the mansion and the name, he was still successful. But the brain doesn't notice slow erosion. It only notices big explosions. And because the mansion didn't burn down overnight, Alex thought everything was fine, while the code was running in the background, recoding his life toward zero. Then came the day the flow stopped. The company built by the grandfather began to decline. It could no longer fund the lifestyle of the third generation. Alex didn't panic. He told himself, it's just a temporary setback. He started selling small assets to fund his daily life. A small plot of land, a vintage watch. He still looked rich to the world, but in reality, he was selling the future to buy today. This is where the rule began to work with full force. Alex's financial ignorance began to compound. Small debts became mountains, and the opportunities he used to reject because they were too small were now out of reach. The background software of his life was running without notifications. But this time, it was the software of silent failure. One night, Alex looked in the mirror and thought, my life is still good. I am still Alex. But he was wrong. He was comparing today to a ghost of the past, not to the bitter reality forming under his feet. He couldn't see the progress toward the abyss, because the abyss was covered in red carpet. One day, Alex checked his bank account, and he froze. There was no sudden explosion of loss, just silence. The number he thought was infinite ended. He didn't become poor overnight. He became poor through 10,000 small bad decisions. And he couldn't point to a single moment where everything was lost, because there was no magic event, just accumulated neglect. Most people think the fall is loud, but real failure is silent. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't give a final notice. It only becomes visible when you look back and find the bridge you were walking on has vanished. Wealth is not a station you arrive at. It is a direction you maintain. The third generation fails because they think the station is the end. Alex discovered the truth too late. Money doesn't protect the ignorant. Money only accelerates the reveal of their ignorance. So the real question is not, how do I get rich? The real question is, what are the silent habits I am practicing today that will destroy my wealth tomorrow without me noticing? Because sometimes the most powerful collapse is the one where you still think you are at the top. If you've made it this far, you've already proven you're in the top 1% who seek the code rather than just the noise. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't let your wealth be a silent failure. Decode the next rule with us. See you in the next chapter.